Thanks for watching us tonight. I'm Tiffany Murphy. We begin tonight with an update on the chaos at the Capitol. The building is once again secure after supporters of President Trump breached the buildings after President Trump urged supporters to protest the ceremonial counting of the electoral votes. That process was abruptly halted shortly after the noon hour when hundreds of demonstrators pushed through barriers and climbed onto the Capitol, bursting inside. We've just learned it is scheduled to resume later this evening. Now, once they were inside, those demonstrators roamed the hallways while security officers and Capitol Police tried to safeguard members of the House and Senate. The president late today tweeting a video statement urging calm while continuing to protect the election results. Prior to his statement, President-elect Joe Biden was critical of what he said is the political environment that led to the chaos. Protesters smashed windows to get inside when they stormed the building. Right now, there are reports of damage to a number of offices, including House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office. Damage also reported in many other parts of the building. One woman was shot during the chaos, and the Washington Post reports she has died. No confirmation of her identity, but a congressman told C-SPAN she was a protester. Also not confirmed yet if she was shot by a law enforcement officer or Capitol Police. One man saw it happen.
Well, we had stormed into the chambers inside, and there was a young lady who rushed through the windows. A number of police and Secret Service were saying, "Get back, get down, get out of the way." She didn't heed the call, and as we kind of raced up to grab people and pull them back, they shot her in the neck, and she fell back on me and started saying she was fine, it's cool. And then she started kind of like moving weird, and blood was coming out of her mouth and neck and nose, and I don't know if she's alive or dead anymore.
House members were inside the chambers. They took cover under desks and chairs. A chaplain prayed as police guarded the doors to the chamber, and lawmakers tried to gather information about what was happening. An announcement was played inside the Capitol as lawmakers were meeting and expected to vote to affirm Biden's victory. Due to an external security threat, no one could enter or exit the Capitol complex, the recording said. Sinclair, Washington correspondent Christine Frizzell joins us at the Capitol. She covered the protests and the Capitol takeover today.
On Capitol Hill, tensions running high as Trump supporters broke past barriers, scaled barricades, and stormed the Capitol.
We own you!
Hundreds getting inside, walking footsteps away from both chambers of Congress. Surrounding buildings evacuated. Staffers and lawmakers told to shelter in place. Outside, most of those taking part in the protest not only support President Trump, they believe he actually won the election. Despite overwhelming evidence, he did not.
So you don't believe Joe Biden got more votes than Donald Trump?
No, I do not.
There's serious problems with accounting for all the machine errors and the systematic nature of the fraud that's taken place.
In MAGA hats, in flags and flats, they came from near and far.
We drove up from South Florida to pick up our daughter in Georgia, and here we are today after 18-20 hours of driving.
One central theme of the day came down to this.
We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen.
It's no coincidence this march was scheduled for the same day as the Electoral College certification inside Congress. Right now, protesters are making their way to the Capitol building, where many of them truly believe lawmakers will intervene to keep Donald Trump in the White House.
I came out here to support the President of the United States and to stop the steal. This is our last chance to save our republic.
Many here holding on to the election of the past. Others making the case he is the future.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore. This is Donald Trump's Republican Party.
I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Southeast Texas Congressman Brian Babin and Randy Weber were both at the Capitol during the chaos. Both plan to protest the counting of the electoral votes. KFDM's Victoria White reports why Babin is taking that stand.
U.S. Representative Brian Babin, who represents much of Southeast Texas in Congress, joined other representatives in contesting the 2020 presidential election.
There were absolute violations of the Constitution.
Babin says election laws were deliberately and unlawfully changed during the pandemic,
which opens the door to all the fraud, irregularities, and quite frankly, a stolen election.
He says he's objecting to restore confidence to the American voter.
This is the last shot.
And he says even though the likelihood of success is very small, it is important to fight for freedom and democracy.
In the name of COVID safety and public health, these laws have been enacted unconstitutionally and illegally for drive-through voting, for sending out unsolicited mail-in ballots.
Babin says the peaceful transfer of power from one presidential administration to the next is in danger.
If the American people do not have confidence that they have a transparent, honest election.
And he calls Congress the last bastion of protection for the American voter. Victoria White, KFDM 6 News.
Now, the presidential election process usually ends for all practical purposes after the November election, but this time recounts, court challenges, false claims of voter fraud, and what happened today. KFDM's Joy Addison reports how Southeast Texans are feeling as we approach the end of a tumultuous transfer of power.
2 weeks before the presidential inauguration and the day after 2 Georgia Senate races that will determine control of Congress, Southeast Texans expressed different views, some feeling relieved.
I'm glad the runoff is over. I just hope we can get back to doing things the American way. And the American way is letting the democracy speak for itself.
And others feeling the 2020 election shouldn't be coming to an end. Randy Shatanya says he and 70 million other Americans, some protesting at the U.S. Capitol, feel the Supreme Court failed to substantiate President Trump's claims of voter fraud.
Well, I'm concerned that the evidence has not been adjudicated, and so I don't believe anyone has really looked at any hard evidence to substantiate or contradict what's been going on.
But other Southeast Texans, like Beaumont Councilman Audwin Samuels, sides with the Supreme Court findings of no evidence of voter fraud.
I believe it's been shown that the elections were above board. It was done the American way, and it's time for us to move on.
Another Southeast Texan feels Trump's decision to not concede displayed arrogance and drew attention away from other important issues.
It's uncalled for. I mean, it seems like it's just a sore loser and they're just dragging it out. And I feel like the American people, they don't need something drug out. We have more issues to worry about.
But one thing Southeast Texans do agree on, their hope for future elections.
But hopefully we can get back to the basic principles on which our country was founded. Government for the people, by the people.
In Beaumont, Joy Addison, KFDM 6 News.
Stay with KFDM News on air and online for continuing coverage of the chaos at the Capitol. We'll have the latest new information. And tonight at 10 right here on KFDM, Angel San Juan speaks with Congressman Randy Weber, who describes firsthand what he saw unfold as protesters stormed the Capitol.